Well, we are here with Elan Pasmanick of Born to Repair. You're there in beautiful San Diego. Looks like you got great weather. Is it warm, or I noticed you just got a t-shirt on?
Well, occasionally the sun comes out, and then I become hot.
Yeah.
But now it's like it's breezy, but in the good way that doesn't make noise in my mic. I hope.
Oh, there you go. The nature is playing along with the recording, huh? So you're now, you've been in San Diego for quite a while now, but you originally came over from Israel, correct?
Correct.
And so I guess we talked a little bit about this offline, but and maybe this is a bad question, but is property restoration even a thing over in Israel? I mean, do they have companies that dry out structures and clean up after fires?
No, so in Israel that doesn't really exist, not in the way that it is here in the States. And the reason is that in Israel, everything is made out of a concrete, solid concrete or concrete blocks. So if you have a flood, you just wipe it down.
Just squeegee it out?
Yes, and if you have a fire, then the structure still stands. So all you need to do is to chip the paint off and make a new layer of paint, and that's it.
Yeah.
So houses don't burn down. They don't burn down in Israel. Maybe you'll have a fire inside of the house, but you won't lose the structure.
Yeah. Well, I can remember, there was a story. I remember there's a story a couple years back. I think it was down in Florida after a hurricane, and I don't remember. It was a community of people that weren't native to America, and after the hurricanes came through, they all got together and they just repaired each other's houses. And so I remember the guy writing it was either an article or it was like an interview. And so, for an adjuster, that seems like something suspicious. These people just didn't expect anybody else to, repair their houses for them. They're like, we just helped each other out and got it done. And it wasn't anything nefarious. They were genuinely helping each other out. So,
yes. I think the Jehovah's Witnesses, they do that.
Oh, dang. Well, I know the Amish, are the barn raising and that kind of stuff. It's interesting how different cultures approach their expectations to when something happens, so I always like asking this question. Most people don't set out to get into property restoration, and you're obviously, you're a service side of that. So how did you get into repairing property restoration equipment?
So when I moved here from Israel, me and my wife, we opened a retail business.
Okay.
And we used to have kiosks in the shopping malls. We did that for 13 or 14 years or so.
Wow.
And most of the time that was very successful. But now, after the rise of Amazon and the internet and everything, it stopped being what it used to be. People stopped shopping in the mall like they used to.
Yeah.
And it became harder and harder to sell. Eventually, we decided to close that business. And for a while, I was, I didn't know what I'm going to do. But my friend in another kiosk that used to repair cell phones, he started repairing appliances. And I had experience with appliances from my community in Israel, because in Israel, I came from a very small agricultural community where people started working at 12.
Oh.
So from when I was 12-year-old until I was a 19-year-old, I used to assist the electrician of my community. And in small communities, the electrician, he does a lot of stuff that are, beyond just electrical. So we used to do appliances too. We used to do phone lines and anything that has to do with wires, we used to do.
Yeah.
So when my friend, he started working with appliances, he offered me to join him. And I joined him for a month. I went to jobs with him. I drove around the city and I helped him out. And I found that it was, it was easy for me because of my experience in the past. And I actually found it much more enjoyable than working in the mall. Working in the mall was just so lucrative that it would be, ridiculous not to do it.
Yeah.
But, I never really enjoyed sales like I do getting my hands dirty and repairing stuff.
Yeah.
And it also, repairing also is, it suits my values better because I'm really into recycling and the environment. And also I love helping people save money.
Yeah.
So when you repair something, you save the money because they don't have to buy a new thing. But in sales, it's the opposite. You're wasting people's money. So
Yeah.
so it went against my values in a way. But anyway, I joined up with another friend because driving around the city and repairing equipment is fun and nice and everything. But being from business, I wanted to open my own business. So I joined up with another friend, and we were working on building a warranty company for appliances.
Oh, okay.
And for 8 months, we were working on that. 6 months into the project, we split up. We had like each of us had responsibilities, and he worked on his responsibilities. I started with my responsibilities, and I finished before him. So my wife, she got really upset that I'm in the house the whole time, that I'm bugging her and being on her case constantly. So she wanted me out of the house. And there was a different friend who worked in a restoration company who mentioned that her boss is looking for employees. So I went and interviewed for, as a temp, just for the time that
Okay.
I needed until my partner will finish his part. But eventually it didn't work out with my partner. So I was left working in this restoration company as a temp. While I was interviewing, the owner of the company, he saw on my resume that I repair appliances. So he took me to the warehouse and showed me the broken stuff pile
The pile.
and the big pile of broken stuff.
Yep. That every restoration
And
company has.
well, hopefully for me, each one has a pile, yes.
Yeah.
But I found that most people, they have this corner in the warehouse where they pile up all of the broken stuff.
We called it the graveyard.
The graveyard, yes, some people could do that. Or the boneyard.
Yeah. Yep.
So I told them, let me see if I can do something about that. And being, coming from appliances, I found that restoration equipment was easy for me to repair.
Huh.
And, being from business, I wanted also something better for myself than just working as a temp in a restoration company. And I thought if I can get more restoration companies, and I'll just repair everybody's equipment, then I can do better for myself. So so that's what I did. I quit working in that restoration company. I started knocking on everybody's doors.
Oh,
I
wow.
went to, I Googled all of the restoration companies,
Yeah.
and I just went to their address. And you'll be surprised how many companies are not in the address that they advertise.
Oh, okay.
So many of them have just like fake addresses.
Not
So
not easy to track every one of them down, huh?
yeah, sometimes you drive like 45 minutes and then you get to a coffee shop. You're like, hey, I'm looking for a restoration company. And they say, oh, we are a coffee shop.
Yeah.
So anyway, I found the ones that I found. I didn't really want to call them because with my accent, I was afraid that they think that I'm soliciting something from India.
Oh.
And
Just a what are they, spam call or something like that.
yes, so I preferred showing up. I think in person,
Yeah.
I can give a better impression.
Well, that's true for all businesses, though, right? You know, it's worth the shot of stopping by.
And some companies, they just took me straight away to the back and they say, hey, we have this pile, what can you do about it? And other companies, it took time to pursue them, and
Yeah.
let me take your card, then they never call. So then you show up again with chocolates. Hey, now here's some chocolates, maybe now you'll call me.
Yeah.
And some of them I'm still pursuing. Some of them have promises. Yeah, let's talk next week, but
Yeah.
that next week never comes.
Do you feel? I remember there was somebody had asked me a while back about how they got how to get sales experience, right? And I've always felt like those whether you're working at a cell phone store or those kiosks in the mall, I would encourage my own kids, like if you want sales experience, I don't think there's any other car sales too. I mean, some people speak badly about it, but something where you're constantly engaging with the public. And like you said, whether or not you have a product that you're fully committed to, but that coming over the fear of approaching people, excuse me, and then figuring out on the fly, like how to make a connection with people, right? Do you feel like that helped you in the process of sales?
So yes, definitely. When I started in my business, I was really shy, and it was very difficult for me to approach people. But working in the mall, you just get so much experience because
Yeah.
there's so many people walking around in the mall. Every person is a potential customer.
Right.
And in my business, we actually used to stop people and offer them our products. So if you are just standing there and waiting, you are wasting time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you constantly have to keep yourself busy. If you are not doing a pitch, you have to generate a pitch by standing and calling people. Hey, would you like to try? And in some companies they are really aggressive. They'll actually hold your hand and pull you.
Yeah.
In some companies they'll use different tactics to stop the people. Like they'll approach women, for example, hey, I like your shoes. Where did you get them from? And
Sure.
oh, from that store. Oh, great. Let me show you also. I have over here some stuff.
Yeah.
And I really didn't go so far as being that aggressive. But when you do that for so long, you just get used to talking to people that you don't know, and you get a habit that you get used to it, and it becomes fine.
Yeah.
Today I can talk to anybody.
Yeah. Well, and
Today I walk around on the sidewalk and I talk to people.
I think too, I've always trained people. I mean, one of the biggest things is like you're saying, being able to go to somebody's office and it's okay to say no, right? They're already saying no to you if
Yeah,
they're not doing business with you. So you're really not losing anything, but you have a whole lot more
right.
by actually going out and meeting with them. So you launched the Born to Repair, and you've been doing that a little over a year now?
About a year, almost a year, I think. So I used to repair appliances before,
Right.
and now the restoration equipment I do for, I think next month will be a year, or maybe in 2 months.
Well, that's awesome. And your business is mobile. You go to people's businesses and repair it there.
Right. I drive around with my Prius,
Okay.
and all of my tools are in the back.
So that goes eco-friendly all around, huh?
Plus, it saves me money.
Yeah.
And I'll go to people's warehouse and I'll repair in the warehouse. I don't have my own shop, so that keeps my prices low.
Right.
And the way I define my business is not necessarily to repair, but my goal is to save you money. So by reducing my expenses, I'm saving you money by not having to charge you so much.
Right. Just to
so the one advantage, another one advantage of working in your warehouse is that if I can find parts in an unrepairable machine, I'll just install them in your repairable one.
Yeah.
Unlike when you send your stuff to the shop, then they judge each machine individually, and they say, "Oh, this machine is unrepairable. Now you can come and take it." And they won't really look at your inventory and say, "Okay, let's combine. Let's put two machines together." I call that Frankensteining. Yeah. So let's Frankenstein these two machines, and let's see what happens. But I enjoy Frankensteining. Plus, I charge by the hour, so the more I Frankenstein, the more money I make.
Yeah.
And I make more money by Frankensteining than I do from ordering parts.
Well, it saves them money too, right? By harvesting from their existing. I know I worked with a mechanic here in Seattle, and they were really good at that. Like, you know, this one's dead, but let's save these and these parts that are interchangeable with other equipment that's always going to need repairs.
And most shops, they have a pile of unrepairable stuff, and they say we'll save it for parts, but they don't really have the experience nor the men to use those parts,
right,
or to put those parts into use. But so then I come to that pile and I can harvest so much stuff out of that.
So most people are familiar with, I mean, the two main brands in restoration are DryOjO and Phoenix, and those are primarily made in the States. Do you notice a big difference between working on those well-known names and then some of the other companies that have come into play, and then, you know, some of the overseas kind of, they look similar on the outside, but they're, you know, quite a bit different on the inside. Is there a big difference, do you notice, between, you know, the well-known brands and some of the knockoffs?
So first I have to say that each company has their own advantages and disadvantages.
Sure.
So for example, when you order stuff that are made in China, of course you are getting stuff that are made in China. But there is an advantage that you are paying less.
Right.
And I can't really say if they break down faster or less. Because, you know, I don't know when the machine was bought when I get it. So that's a question for the owners of those machines. And I find even with the made in the US brands, there are recurring problems. Even if their parts are built better, then many times there's less accessibility for me as a technician.
Okay.
And
as far as like trying to get to the part.
Right. So if there's a part deep inside that needs cleaning, like if there's a pump that got clogged, even, you know, other companies, you know, the made in China companies, maybe the pump will break and then you have to replace it, but it's so much easier to get to that pump that I save my clients money by using less of their time, using less of my time. but the other ones takes me so longer to just reach that part because they have so much screws, or so difficult to get there. When we spoke before, I really it sounded like I don't recommend the Chinese brands, and it's not the case. Since then I thought about it, and if you need a machine now and you want it cheap, then maybe a Chinese brand is better for you. But if you want a machine that lasts a long time and that will perform better, then I would recommend the American brands. And there are also advantages with the American brands that, at least right now, advantages that I see is that they have parts that are stocked up here in the States. So if I need a part for a Dry-Ease, for a Phoenix, I can get it. If I need a part for a B-Air, then B-Airs, they don't have parts right now.
Right.
And, I developed relations with people in B-Air. So I email the guy directly every time he returns the email straight away. So during normal times when I need B-Air parts, it's very easy and cheap for me to get to them. Yeah. But right now, their factories are closed, and some of my clients, they need parts that I can't deliver.
Yeah. Well, I know those B-Airs in particular, when we had carpet cleaners that were delivering equipment, they're so much lighter. One guy can get them in and out of a van quite easily. And I know Dry-Ease and Phoenix have made the much smaller boxes to kind of, those are really nice, especially when you have a van that has limited capacity. But yeah, like you said, there's advantages and disadvantages. You just got to know kind of what you're getting into.
Right, and if you have two machines that have the same specs, then picking them up will tell you something about the machine itself. If it's heavier, that means the frame is heavier, the tubes are heavier, probably has more gaskets where you would want gaskets.
Right.
And the lighter one is basically it's lighter because they're saving on materials.
Right.
So even if the blower has the same specs, even if the refrigerant system has the same specs, long-term performance will probably be different. But like I said, if you need a DQ right now, let's say you need an air mover right now, because you need something for the job, and you don't have enough of your own. You can go to the Home Depot and pick one right now.
Right. Yeah.
And it might be cheaper, might not last as long, but you can do it right now. So there's advantage and disadvantage to everything.
Yeah, to doing that. Is there something, I guess probably the most expensive piece of equipment that most restoration companies have in their arsenal, and the one that's a little more complicated, is the dehu. Do you are there things that you see, common things that break down and common things that people can do that will extend the life of that equipment and help it work for them longer?
Dehus, they all have recurring problems that are mostly preventable by doing two things. First of all, always keep them standing up.
Yeah.
Never lay them down. When you lay them down, then the compartment that holds the condensate that is collected, it's always the open on the top. So when you lay them down, it just spills over. And when you have spilled water inside of your electric machine, that seeps into the electricity. It will corrode your wires. It will corrode even the screws that are holding the frame together. So sometimes I will break a screw because it's just too rusty, and then it's a headache to replace it. And in worst scenarios, it will even go into the motherboard and the control board, and will just corrode everything inside. So the second thing I would recommend is, it sounds really stupid, but always use the correct filter, and always make sure that it's installed correctly. Because when you don't, then dirt will just go into the machine.
Right.
That will clog up the airway, and eventually will destroy the pump. So
is that
some pumps, sorry.
Is that where like people, you think companies are trying to save money by buying a cheaper filter, thinking that they're saving money? Do you think it's that, or just not ordering it correctly?
What I find is that some people just don't use filters.
Oh, at all?
Or at all.
Oh.
And some people, they have a stack of different filters in their warehouse. They just take the wrong filter that doesn't sit correctly.
Oh.
So as long as the filter covers the intake, the air intake, if it covers it right, it will be okay. But if you put your DQ in a house that you're tearing down, and you're tearing down the ceiling, and the DQ is like right there,
in the same,
and it doesn't have the right filter, then all of that crap goes right into the DQ.
Oh man.
Many DQs intake are on top.
Yep. You're probably preaching to there's probably owners across the board that are just saying, this is what I've been saying, it's like, turn the DQ off, take it out, do your demo. I don't know how many times we get fans coming back that are just covered in crap, and the DQs are just, just covered in dust, and nothing's worse than that drywall dust, right? Especially in a wet environment.
Well, for me, I personally don't really like the insects, the dead insects.
Oh.
And what's also funny that sometimes I find in the machines are the sunflower seeds.
Oh.
It's like somebody is sitting there and throwing sunflower seeds into the DQ.
Huh. That's gross. Well, yeah, and then obviously the ones that go into crawl spaces and those kinds of things is probably even grosser things, right?
Oh, I find so many times I got my fingers cut and then infected because of all of the slime that grows in DQs.
Well, one thing we're seeing, like with the COVID-19, is a lot more restoration companies are taking care to, wipe down their equipment and disinfect their equipment. And, unfortunately, I can speak from experience that doesn't always get taken care of, even after a mold job or, a category 3 sewage loss. We're not as proactive as we should be. And so, maybe that's one positive thing. It'll raise the bar on people taking more care to clean their equipment, just from a disinfection standpoint, but also the preventative.
Right. And when you take your DQ to a job, and in the previous job, they tore a ceiling over the DQ.
Yeah.
Then it makes you look really bad on the second job.
Gross. Yeah.
So it might be disinfectant, but if you have the chips and nails are sticking everywhere,
yeah,
you still look bad.
Well, or you get stuff in those rubber wheels, and then you go over a hardwood floor. You're going to be paying for that floor.
And if the blower is noisy, you don't really want noisy blowers or shaky.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it seems, well, and two on the, I think we talked about before, keeping the DQs upright. So as an owner or a manager, if you're not providing the right filters for your team, but then also you know what, a good ratchet strap is a, you know, six, you can get a pack of them for $24, right? So $6 a piece for a pack of four. And I know, you know, we've had battles in the past where not, you know, people have rickety bungee cords that, you know, the equipment's bobbling around in the truck and those kinds of things. And so, you know, making sure your team has their right equipment to secure your dehus, and then that they're trained to secure them properly and not take shortcuts.
Yes. And what I also recommend is to assign a person who is in charge of making sure that the equipment is being used correctly. And I find that usually the operation manager is like a really busy man, and he doesn't really have time to deal with that. But if you have a warehouse manager or anybody who stays in the office, just give him the authority to go into the trucks before the people leave at 8:30 in the morning, before they leave to the jobs, go into the trucks, make sure that the right filters are installed, make sure that the machines are clean before they show up on a job, make sure that they are tied in correctly, that they are standing correctly. And also what really helps is to have a person that makes sure that when the machines come back from a job, that they are downloaded from the truck correctly, that people are not holding the wire of the blowers, the air movers. Some people, and then I get machines that you know, the wire is pulled out, but from the inside, so nobody knows why it's not working. But you know, it's just a matter of screwing back the wire together. But it's completely preventable. If you send a machine like that to the shop, they'll say, "Oh, you need a new wire."
Right.
You know, and that's a shame because money is wasted.
So you got.
So I think
Sorry, go ahead.
Yes, people just hold the. You know, if it's not a too big machine, they just hold the wire.
Yeah.
So I think that by having a person who is in charge of the machines, if you have somebody that is in charge of the machines and has the authority to tell people what to do, then that will prevent a lot of the damages in the future. Right. So I recommend like a warehouse manager. If you have a warehouse manager whose job is to clean and to make sure everything is in place, also give him the authority to tell people, you know, this is not the right filter, or that, because many times there's a warehouse manager, but he doesn't feel like he has authority to tell people what to do.
Sure.
Or people don't care about what he says. They just, you know, behind his back, when he's not looking, they'll just, you know, won't care about what he said.
Yeah.
So,
well, that's system wide, right? That like you said, that the owner's engaged and cares about what's going on. And I know another thing, you know, that I've always tried to pay close attention to is training, right? I mean, those simple things that you take for granted. You talked about holding the cord, you know, to carry it out of the truck. I don't know, I've seen that as much, but I definitely see people pulling the cord and, you know, yanking it out of the wall rather than going over to the wall and unplugging the equipment, and what damages that grounding prong.
Yes. Laziness is a big issue in this business. It's a big problem.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much you can avoid it. I mean, sometimes in the job interview, the guy looks perfect, and when he's around people, he looks perfect. But then next to the machines, you know, he mistreats the machines. And I don't know if there's something to do about it, but there are other stuff that you can do. And, you know, most business owners, they don't even go to the office so much anymore.
Yeah.
And I don't blame them, because I was a business owner, and at many times I neglected my business, and I just let my employees do their things, and I thought, oh, I'm making enough money anyway, so why should I care? And I get it if business owners are like that, but you can always assign somebody who will do that job for you.
Sure. If it's
if
not going to
you
be,
want to save money.
yeah, yep, yeah, that goes to the system.
And also, yes, it's also beneficial to the employees where they have somebody who is responsible, that is engaged in the business. It doesn't have to be the business owner, but if there's somebody who is in charge of every little detail, then also the employees will care more about those details.
Yeah, yeah, that trickles that top down and bottom up, right? Well, I think you mentioned when we talked before, you can tell going into a business if the owner's there and engaged, the management's engaged, the trucks are clean, typically you're going to have a better care for the equipment and obviously product to the client, right? Like
right.
How you present yourself translates to how you take care of your company vehicle and the company equipment and the client. So,
yes. If you go to somebody's house and your truck is full of crap and the doors are not working because they are clogged from too much stuff and too much crap, then that doesn't look good. And what's the chance that they'll call you again, or what's the chance that they'll recommend you to other people?
Right.
And that's even worse in when you deal with a complex, because if you have a complex with 50 apartments, and the person calling you is not the homeowner, it's the person working in the office in the complex.
Yeah.
And he sees your crappy truck, he won't want your truck in the complex because he doesn't like crappy stuff in the complex.
Right. Yep. Yeah, if you can't take care of yourself, it's going to be hard to take care of your vehicle, and it's going to be hard to take care of the client. So all that stuff kind of ties in together. Well, that's
right. It trickles down into the equipment too.
Yeah. Which is, like you said, if we don't have the equipment, that's a lot of where restoration companies are making their money with some of the makeup money on the mitigation side is having that equipment that you own and that you've been taking care of, which is where you come in, right? So that's thank you very much. I want to be respectful of your time. You talked about your background, getting into property restoration and sales, and any other closing thoughts on, obviously, what the service you provide is helping companies to save money and keep things running, which is going to be, as we figure out the new normal, hopefully as we beat COVID-19 and then what the world will look like after that. Any thoughts on how people can optimize things and what that looks like to keep innovating? Your story, obviously, your life has transitioned. You have to innovate and adapt and reinvent your business. So any thoughts on those?
So first, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it that you took your time to speak to me. And basically, when it comes to equipment, just to follow the instructions. The instructions, they say exactly how to treat your equipment, and dehues, keep them upright, repair, switch the filters, use the correct filters. Extractors, don't let them overfill. If they overfill, they'll break down. So always empty them out and keep them clean. Also between jobs, keep them clean. And HEPA filters, for example, there's the big HEPA filter, but they always have a smaller filter on top of that should be replaced all the time, because otherwise that puts a toll on the HEPA filter, which is really expensive.
Yep.
Sometimes the price to replace the HEPA filter is like half of the price of the whole the whole scrubber. So you should take care of the HEPA filter, because that's in the heart of the scrubber. That's what makes a scrubber a scrubber.
Right.
And there's a filter for that, so you can just replace that. But basically, anybody who wants to video call me outside of my territory in San Diego is welcome to call me, and I'll video call with them.
Oh wow.
And you can assign a guy to do the repairs. Just give him tools to do the job, and I'll guide him. Open over here, this needs to be unscrewed, and I'll repair equipment over video call.
Wow.
Of course, I have a charge for that,
Sure.
but I guarantee that it will save you money. Definitely is better than sending your equipment to the shop. If shops in the States, in the rest of the States are like shops here in San Diego, then it will definitely save you a lot of money.
Yeah. Well, it seems like you pride yourself, and I found you on Instagram. You're Born to Repair there on Instagram, and you pride yourself on trying to find common sense solutions that create value for your customers, which is unique. I mean, that's a win-win, right? You're providing value, and they're continuing to extend the life of their equipment. Is there ways to find you outside of Instagram?
I have a Facebook page under the same name.
Okay.
It has exactly the same content. And
is that the
you can DM me or message me.
DM or message?
For people who don't know me, I would recommend, yes, use social media to contact me.
You're based in San Diego, but you're mobile, so you go to people's locations, but you've also been successful in helping people navigate via video calls as well.
Even through text. Some
Okay.
people text me.
Yeah.
Because they see my content and they send me messages through Instagram, and they're like, "Oh, I have this problem with this machine," so I'll text them back the troubleshooting. Many times that's successful. Yes, and I never charged anybody for texting.
Okay. And you said you're so what have you learned about you said you try to keep your content relevant there on social media. Has that been effective for you? What's been your approach?
So, trying to find clients through social media, I found that was very beneficial for me. Sometimes even more beneficial than knocking on people's doors and going to their office. So, because through social media, I have direct access to the owners of the company, and I don't have to go through the person in the office who's like, "Oh yes, give me your card," and then they never call me. So I wanted to find a way to have content that is unusual.
Yep.
And because I found, after I'm following over 1,000 restoration companies right now. Yep. And I find that everybody's content is pretty much the same content. It's like, oh, here's a picture of a dehu inside of a broken house, and call us, we're available 24/7.
Yeah.
And here's a new guy, and that's his name. And it's like so repetitive. If you see one post, you're already bored with the second one, but everybody is having the same post.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I needed a way to stand out and not to be as boring, so my post won't be buried in the piles of posts.
Yeah.
So that's why if you follow me on social media, that's why you'll see that my content is so stupid and ridiculous. And that's basically to get attention.
Yep.
And so one day I was working under a dry ease, and dry ease are so difficult to screw. And I had this idea for a post in my mind about screwing the bottom of a dry ease. And I thought, how can I make a post about screwing the bottom of a dry ease without making it sound creepy? Yeah. So I thought, oh, maybe I'll make it rhyme, then it might be funny. And so I made a little poem about screwing the bottom of a dry ease. That was my first poem.
Your restoration repair poem.
And so I made another one like that, but then I continued. After my second poem, I just put on like boring posts. Here's me repairing, here's me fixing. And I met a friend of mine once, and he said, "Oh, I really liked your poems. They were so funny. I really like them." So since then, I try most of my posts to have poems in them, and most of them are just like so stupid. And I find that the more stupid they are, the more likes they receive and shares and comments.
Yeah.
So since then, that's what I do. So usually they'll have like sexual metaphors or just immature stupidity in general. So if you are into immature stupidity, then my social media is like great for you.
Born to Repair is the place to be, huh? That's awesome.
And if you don't, at least I have your attention.
Yeah, yeah. Well, not too many people are writing poems about dehumidifiers, so that's you're definitely unique in that respect. So, well, it looks like you've got a beautiful day to enjoy there in San Diego. So thank you so much, Elan, for being on. Like we said, I found you through Born to Repair there on Instagram, and people can find you on Facebook. And thank you for joining us, man.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, are you ready to roll then?
Let's go.
Okay, so it's recording, but